Well, let's welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. We also want to recognize and introduce our newest sponsor, Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way. Hey, Bill. Obviously, you're Italian with the size of that schnoz of yours. You've been to Pizza Del Rey. Tell me about the pizza.
It's phenomenal. For out here in the Eau Claire area, it's just a great pizza, great place, great atmosphere, family owned. My favorite pizza in Eau Claire.
And I kind of go. You're kind of the pizza critic for the Midwest, coming from the East Coast and Pennsylvania.
Are you going to start calling me El Prez?
No.
Okay.
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I have a hard time just introducing you as my friend, so we're going to leave it not as El Presidente, okay? But I mean, you're kind of my go-to. I always ask you, is this similar to back home? Is this not similar to back home? Where does this rate? And so, not rehearsed. I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think we have to do an official pizza review there. I don't think I could just go off of memory and give it a true rating. I think we have to do it there on camera, in the joint. Okay. Give them a little pub. Right. Take a bite. One bite. Everybody knows the rules, right?
No, I don't think you should use that.
I'm just saying that's the rule.
I know, but that's taken.
Well, it's taken, but it's still the rule.
It's taken. And for those of you, they also have an amazing salad bar, and then Sunday they have a nice
breakfast brunch.
Yeah. Call it a brunch.
Yeah, I call it a brunch.
And we've been there for both, and yeah.
So, and it shows on both of us.
Yeah. Some of us a little bit more than others. But yeah, so Pizza Del Rey, welcome them into the mix, and we're happy to have them aboard.
Absolutely, we're excited. So today we're going to continue doing a little bit of the documenting our past. We're going to talk a little bit about weather, uniforms, cleats, sleeves or no sleeves when it comes to games, especially as offensive linemen. But we're also going to do a little current events today, a little take in some questions that have come up on social media and some of the different platforms, and just try and change it up a little and see how it's working going forward, that we're going to obviously start talking more current events. Mm-hmm. We do have a couple more episodes. We have an exciting episode coming up in April where we're going to be doing the draft live here in Cabin Coffee. So let's start off with the weather. So sleeves or no sleeves?
Never wear sleeves.
Easy answer. Yeah, you don't wear sleeves.
And a half shirt. Like, I wanted.
You wore the half shirt?
Yeah, I always wanted to have the movement. I felt restricted with all the pads on and everything else. Like, I didn't want my sweaty shirt sticking to my fat, and I didn't wear sleeves. Or I wore a half shirt.
I feel you.
Didn't care about the weather. Didn't care if it was cold. It was never an issue. After warm-ups, you're sweating already.
Yep.
And then you go into the locker room until you run out, and then after the first play, weather was never a factor.
Exactly. Especially for O-linemen. It doesn't matter how cold it is. The only time I'd say cold comes into play, and it has nothing to do with your arms, because your whole body, you're already sore being an O-lineman, but the helmet. Yep. And those very cold games when you take the helmet off, and that's one thing you and I have talked about is where in college, well, one, the season gets over a little earlier, but the difference with college and the NFL, you got the heated benches in the NFL, you got the helmet warmers in the NFL, and you got the jets that are pumping heat on the sideline. So they try and do their best, but still, if you don't keep that helmet warm or at least keep it on your head, it's like a block of concrete when you go out there to play the game.
So let me ask you this then. When you had the heated benches, etc., I think I'd rather just be cold. Because once I go from warm to sitting on a heated bench with I would rather not get warm and then go back into the game. Like, just keep me.
And I hear you, but I think the one nice thing, I mean, I started having a couple back issues at the NFL time, but the one nice thing is it's basically like a PVC bench that they just pump air into, and it just heats it up. So putting your lower back on that bench was sort of nice, but yeah, as soon as you get back in the huddle, it's all basically gone.
Absolutely.
The worst part about the heated benches is when we were playing games on grass fields where we're wearing 7 studs, and we'll get into different cleats, but you're able to put your heels into the bench. So then your feet will get some of the heat being pushed on them. And when there's a quick turnover, an interception or something like that, and you'll see guys every game, somebody gets their cleat caught in the bench and just face plants on the sidelines. Totally embarrassing. You feel like a fool. I never had it happen, but I've had a couple close encounters.
Gotcha.
So shoes. This has always been a fun topic for us.
I've had so many shoes, and I never realized going into college how many shoes there were. It makes complete sense. But you have your molded cleats, you have your 7-studded cleats, you got your wet rats, your dry rats, your and every time that we would go on the field, there was a dress code. Hey, well, we're wearing these cleats for this reason. And but yeah, so you can kind of start discussing what each one of those cleats were. We can start with the molded cleats.
Yeah. So moldeds are basically what everybody knows. Today, I think they're more called sharks.
Okay.
That molded bottom. Obviously, the 7 studs. The interesting thing with 7 studs, they have, I believe it's 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and we had 1 inch in the NFL. I think 1 inch was illegal in college. I think we mostly wore 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch. The one funny thing that we always reminisce about is the metal that were inside the 7 studs. Also, linemen, you'd be so tired, but you still want to have fun and get a laugh. We'd be kicking our feet off the ground, watching sparks.
Yep, off the cement as you're walking to and from the practice field, and you're outside. Because when we were inside, we were in Camp Randall or inside the indoor facility in the McLean Center. Otherwise, we were in the practice field outside. And of course, you're like a child. It's almost like when you grill and you cannot not hit the tongs together like 3 times after everything. It's identical to that. Exactly. So you're walking and you just scrape your heel across the thing and sparks fly. And
then the other funny thing is we were sponsored by Reebok, and I actually stuck with Reebok because I did gain trust in the shoe. Once I went to the NFL, you have to pick a shoe company, and I stayed with Reebok. And we'll get into that shoe.
I'm just looking at that Reebok over there that's kind of been blown apart, but okay.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But when we started off with Reebok at Wisconsin back in '96, and the awesome part about it is you still have the pair, is the original color.
Yep.
So today they're sponsored by Under Armour. They have black shoes. They wear black socks. We weren't allowed to wear any color other than red and white.
Yep.
But Reebok in 1996, for our basic turf model, what color do we say the shoe is?
It's like an orange.
It's orange.
Definitely
it's an orange shoe that we wore at home for turf shoots. Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
And I still have them. It was one of those where I didn't want to throw it away. I still have a lot of the shoes, actually.
Yeah.
They're in storage. I have some dry rats. And how cool was that? Because I can tell everybody that I wore the pumps.
Exactly.
They were pumps on the side. And so like, and they're still comfortable. Yep. So I still wear them.
I don't think I saved any. I maybe have a pair of Sharks from the NFL, but I did save my 7 studs just because 7 studs at the end of the season always look like they went through war. Huh. You see the scratches on them, you see the grass stains on them. Where turf shoes, it's just like you wore a pair of gym shoes for a year and not too much. But yes, now talking about the dry rats and wet rats. So at Wisconsin, this was the old school turf that was basically like what I say growing up out east. Everybody's house or everybody's grandma and grandpa's house had a front porch that was basically concrete, and they rolled out an AstroTurf carpet on top of the front porch. That was basically what Camp Randall was. Sure. And then wherever you saw color on the field, that was not colored turf. That was spray paint on top of the turf, which people don't understand.
It was in a very aggressive sandpaper.
Very aggressive.
Like, so the turf itself was sandpaper, and then the painted parts like the W and the end zones, and like
we trip over it. It was raised that much because layer and layer of paint just over the years started raising it. You'd get a toe pick and go down.
Absolutely.
We used to say you got shot by a sniper if somebody went down during practice.
And if you recall, us not wearing sleeves had your wrist taped and your gloves on and your gloves taped on, but nothing on your arms. So when you fell, you lost hide.
You left a little hide on the field.
And it wasn't just like a little bit. Like you're going down a couple layers every time you fall. And those wounds, those never healed.
No.
Like they oozed all game. You go home or you go shower and they're still oozing. You try to cover them up with a pre-wrap or something because it's a pussy mess, a weeping wound. And then you put on your dress shirt, which generally I wear white. Yep. And then those things your shirt sleeves would stick to your wounds.
Exactly.
And like, I pride myself in being tough.
Yep.
Freaking hurt every time.
Yep. And the best advice we got from trainers were, I remember I ripped from the tape mark down to my elbow off my forearm. They bandaged it up. Obviously, we're in the Metrodome in Minnesota. We fly back, and I looked at our trainer, and I'm like, it's stuck. Like the Band-Aid stuck to my shirt. The shirt's stuck to – everything's just stuck together. I go, what do I do? Because I don't want to rip more skin off. And his suggestion was go in the shower and take your shirt off.
Yeah.
So I literally took a hot shower with my dress shirt, my undershirt, took my tie off, and then slowly just started peeling everything back. So the audience should be very happy we're not throwing up pictures of what that looks like. But we go from that with the turf, but then back to the shoes, the especially the wet rats. I don't think I ever wore my wet rats ever. And the reason was our 1997, our first year actually playing, Coleman Johnson, who was a JUCO transfer, came in. It rained one day. I think it was that spring ball practice?
Yep,
I think it was spring ball. It downpoured, and they suggested wet rats. And right as we were going out to practice, the sun came out, dried everything up. Luckily, I put on dry rats that day, which are a little bit more aggressive than the turf shoes for everybody to know, but nowhere near as aggressive as the wet rats. And Coleman had wet rats on, and he was pulling or something, and probably the first series of practice blows out his knee. Yep. And that's when Casey Robach stepped up, became the starting center, and the rest was history for Casey. Ended up playing 10 years in the NFL after that. But and I think that just put fear in us that we don't want to wear those shoes because it sticks.
Right. And I think mine are in such good condition still because, well, I didn't wear them, honestly. But so I would disregard the you need to wear or this is the attire, and I didn't wear them.
Yeah. So
Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane, Altoona, Wisconsin. Hey, folks, we offer a drink of the month every month. This month is the Mint Sensation. Features our white coffee and green mint syrup. It's great flavor, not a lot of sugar, more caffeine. Stop on by Cabin Coffee.
The other shoe that we wore on the turf, which I'm going to pull from the back counter here, we used to approach the basketball trainer because basketball got good basketball shoes that looked nicer than what we had, and also performed better than probably the turf shoes that Reebok was giving us. And this is the pair I wear in a game, and for the audience to see, I did it long before the Duke basketball player, he blew out a shoe. I did it on a PAT, a point after the touchdown. I put my foot down to brace, and my foot went right through the side of the shoe, as anybody could see here, a big hole in the side of the shoe. And my O-line coach, or our O-line coach, when we get to the sidelines, yells at me that I gave up pressure on the extra point. And he goes, "What are you doing?" He's screaming, Coach Hubes, as we all talk about. He's screaming about it. And I go, "Look, I had my ankle spatted. So the shoe is still attached to my ankle, but my foot, like I walked back from the field house end zone back to the O-line bench with one shoe on and one sock on the turf the whole walk back." And I think these were 13s. I think I put on a size 12 on my right foot to go back in the game. Then at halftime, I think I grabbed a pair of 13s out of somebody's locker that wasn't wearing them.
I think I know whose shoes you were actually wearing, because
54, Dave Costa.
Dave Costa.
Dave. So Dave, that's your shoe that busted out.
Yeah.
And I ended up grabbing another pair.
And didn't Dave have that was your senior year then?
Yeah, that would have been senior year.
And would that have been when Dave broke his ankle? So
I don't think it was that game, but yeah. So and we have talked about doing an injury podcast, but yeah, that was a tough day. And Dave went down on the turf and I think broke his ankle in like 9 places. And I remember it was Northwestern, because that was the game that I actually first broke my nose, the most severe, where I basically had a hole the size of a nickel on my nose. And I remember we lost in, I think, triple overtime. Dave, we know, is done for the year. At that time, we don't know if he could ever play football again, but we know he's done at Wisconsin. And I'm crying on Mrs. Costa's shoulder, getting blood all over her from my nose, crying about Dave and how bad I feel. So, yeah, we had a ton of exciting times, good memories. But back to the uniforms, the one thing, and we had talked about this a little, and I got to bring it up, and I know it's not going to do justice like last time, but last time we had this conversation about uniforms, we talked about shoulder pads and the nose sleeves. So linemen wear nose sleeves, obviously, because it's just who we are. And if you do wear sleeves, you are looked down upon. You know, like a D lineman looks like something's off with. If I see a D lineman wearing sleeves, I'm like, he's already uncomfortable. Like, I already have an edge up because he's wearing sleeves. He's concerned about the weather. He's not concerned about the game as much as I am.
Agreed.
But we talked about the shoulder pad strap giving you a rash underneath your arm. But the last time we spoke and we tried recording it and was part of the whole bad audio, you started into how it's similar to a bra. and you could get a rash. And I think my jaw dropped, and I wish the audio was good on that because it was
Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane, Altoona, Wisconsin. Hey folks, we offer a drink of the month every month. This month is the Mint Sensation. Features our white coffee and green mint syrup. It's great flavor, not a lot of sugar, more caffeine. Stop on by Cabin Coffee.
Game, took it off. I don't have to wear it 24 hours a freaking day and take it off when I go to bed. I'm just saying. You know?
I think if we're ever doing something like that, that's going to be a paid subscription where people are going to have to pay more to see that. We can't just do that for just for viewers' good time.
Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane, Altoona, Wisconsin. Hey folks, we offer a drink of the month every month. This month is the Mint Sensation. Features our white coffee and green mint syrup. It's great flavor, not a lot of sugar, more caffeine. Stop on by Cabin Coffee.
What else with uniforms?
Obviously, different colored uniforms for away game, home
gloves.
game, and gloves. You know, that was the thing. And we chewed through gloves like crazy in the offense. And then we had several different colors of gloves.
Yeah. And explain what, because we switched from several different colors to the NCAA imposed a rule, or Big Ten or NCAA imposed a rule. Everybody had to wear gray gloves.
Right.
So do you want to go on that? Or?
Yeah, because, as offensive linemen, you and I both know that we don't hold. We never hold.
No, we don't.
Okay?
Keep your feet moving. We
don't hold. And but we would, whatever team we were wearing their jerseys, we would match the gloves to, just in case our ref got a little squirrely and thought we were holding, even though we weren't. So we would definitely match our gloves to their uniforms to avoid any sort of conflict.
100%. And then they made that rule, and it was exciting. You play. Trying to think, we didn't play Nebraska, but if you played a red team, you're wearing the red gloves.
Correct.
If you're at home and they're wearing white jerseys, you wear the white gloves.
Correct.
Just to your point.
Yep.
But yeah, the gray gloves switched everything, and we had to go gray for everything. Mm-hmm. But that's another thing. In college, we like you'd mentioned when we were telling the story, we were like taping our gloves up, and we didn't get gloves just whenever we wanted. We had to beg and plead to get more gloves. When I got to the NFL, though, that's another like eye opener. You just get boxes of gloves. So I would wear I'd wear a set during the week, probably wear that set in the game, and then you throw those gloves to kids or whatever, to fans. But it was just like, I was in awe of the amount of shoes. Like, I think when I got done in Green Bay, when you get cut, you get to take all your equipment. So I think I took probably like 20 some pairs of shoes. They give you a pair of every style shoes for every game throughout the season. There was DBs that would wear brand new cleats every single Sunday.
See, I never wanted to. After I break them in and they fit like they're supposed to, I don't want to have blisters or anything else. So I wore the exact same cleats until they were unwearable.
Especially 7 studs.
Oh yeah.
You could sort of argue like turf shoes. You'd be able to switch them up more frequently, but 7. I got yelled at by Reebok. I wanted to wear. In 2002, I wanted to wear the 7 studs I had in 01 because they were already broken in. Right. And 7 studs, unless you bust through it or something like that, they're going to last. And I got told, no, you got to wear the newer model that they are issuing the team. So,
were they paying you?
They were.
Okay.
And I think
that therein lies the difference.
And you want to hear my great sales pitch too. So when I first got there, I went to Nike. Because most of the NFL was Nike. We were Nike, everything else but shoes. That was open for anybody to choose. And it was basically Nike and Reebok were the only 2 companies at the time that were outfitting NFL guys. So Nike, I don't even think they wanted to talk to me. Just that I was an old lineman. I was a mid-round draft pick. And they already had the majority of every team throughout the NFL. So I go to Reebok, and they're like, hey, are you interested? I'm like, well, Nike's offering me $2,000 to wear their shoes. And they're like, we'll match it. I go, okay. So I wear Reebok. The next year, I'm like, I go call my Reebok guy and I go, hey, just want to let you know, Nike offered me like $4,000. They want me to switch. And I'm thinking about doing it. I think I'm going to go to Nike. He goes, we'll give you $5,000. I go, okay, done deal. So that was my quick negotiating.
Do you feel that maybe you could have went a little higher?
I probably could have, but I was humble at the time. We're knocking shoes off the table.
Yeah.
I was trying to be humble at the time and, not go too far. I didn't want anybody to say no
which
to
I
me.
find hilarious because it's the exact polar opposite of who you are.
I know, but both of us, when we were playing, we were both different people when we were playing compared to what we are now. We didn't have the personalities. We didn't have the opinions and vocalize opinions the way we do now. I mean, it's completely different. And it's funny when people in the media, like some of the golf outings we've been at, where you get interviewed and we just start rambling. We start telling how we feel about everything. And they're like, why didn't you guys talk like this back then?
Because you're muzzled.
Coach Alvarez had that muzzle.
You don't ever. You don't give no bulletin board material ever. Yep. You don't say anything. All you ever do is compliment the team. And it's going to be a good game. I hope that we perform to our level. We just want to make sure that we're competitive.
Yeah. I
could have said that in a million freaking interviews and I still haven't memorized because that's kind of what you were saying.
Absolutely.
Very generic. No bulletin, no materials, just matter of factly.
Yep.
So.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.